SheetKraft attempts to address the business problem to automate repetitive spreadsheet-heavy processes which are typically found within the various divisions like finance, accounting, operations, back office, etc. in any organization. Repetitive spreadsheet activities are time-consuming and prone to error. Often such errors can result in significant financial loss for an organization. They are also the source of major bottlenecks for processing. This demonstration describes a basic activity setup to perform a chain of steps via a simple SheetKraft application. During the demo, you'll see an entire life cycle for a small SheetKraft application. You'll gain knowledge of the following. Utilizing the SheetKraft desktop add-in to help set up elaborate processes. A sample activity will be set up from scratch, using the UI to set up multiple steps within an activity. Defining the inputs and outputs for a given activity. Publishing an activity to the SheetKraft server. Running the activity from the web front end as an end user. SheetKraft framework can be deployed on a server with the process-related activities. An elaborate process consists of multiple activities, being executed from a web front end. To this end, we need to have the server up and running. Further, the core data is stored in an SQL Server database. In this case, consider a basic set of loans of data. We aim to generate currency-wise reports for high-rate loans indicating the total amount set to mature in a given year for each product. Activity inputs. Loans data file. Threshold rate. Activity output. Currency-wise aggregation reports for outstanding loan amounts for each product by year. To begin with, we'll start setting up the activity via the SheetKraft Excel add-in. Once you log into the server, you'll see a screen which shows all the activities currently published on the server. Click on the Create button to create a new activity. Once the activity is created, SheetKraft opens the default activity workbook. Simply close the Activities window and you'll be in the Excel workbook. This is the primary workbook where the process steps will be set up. SheetKraft, by default, saves all the activities within the local directory accessible to the application. To open the folder containing the workbook-specific components, click on Define Activity Open Folder. We'll start with the input file, loan_maturity1.csv, which will be put into the Inputs folder within the Activity folder. We are now all set to start the setup of the activity. Since our import is a pipe delimited text file, let's click on the Import Text file to start importing the data. The wizard shows a preview. Once you choose the delimited option, the system detects the delimiter, pipe, in the current case, and arranges columns properly. The wizard has multiple options to help import a varied set of text files, including delimited/fixed width files, data based on column headers, etc. On clicking Next, the wizard allows the user to put the results into the Excel file by choosing a specific area. Once the data is inserted, note that SheetKraft inserts a formula. The path to the data file is inserted in cell A2. Further, the column parameters, header, column type, etc., are inserted in the range C2I5. These are used to ensure that whenever the activity will be repeated, the column order is maintained, and also the column types are checked to ensure there are no discrepancies. The next step, we'll calculate the year of maturity for every loan. A normal Excel user will typically use the year function to calculate it. Insert this formula in cell J8, next to column I. After writing the formula, a typical Excel user will drag the formula down, which is a manual activity. Consider a variable data size. Such an operation will have to be repeated every time, which defeats the purpose of automation. Instead, in SheetKraft we simply use the Fill button. Once you hit Next, the formula gets inserted. Now let's filter this data to get all the loans above a threshold rate. To this end, first insert the threshold value in a cell, say cell N1. Subsequently select the entire data, starting from cell C8J8 going all the way down, and hit the Filter/Sort button in the ribbon. The filter/sort UI has flexibility to insert any kind of criteria. These include filtering on any sort of Boolean criterion, any combination of and/or. In the current scenario, the criterion is actually linked to the threshold rate which is put in cell N1. This will be used later on to define the parameter which will act as an input to the final process. Once you hit Next button, it will prompt you to choose the place to put in the results of the filter operation. Let's now rerun the steps by hitting the Run Book button on the ribbon and open the flowchart. Click the button on the ribbon. You'll see the 3 steps which were performed above captured in the flowchart. SheetKraft understands the order of calculations and performs the same. Further, it can visualize the process via a flowchart. Also, if you select any particular block in the flowchart, it navigates to the corresponding area within the spreadsheet. Now we have the filtered data set with all loans above the threshold rate. From this table, we can aggregate the results to calculate the total outstanding amount. With the pivot functionality from the SheetKraft ribbon, we pool the fields currency, product, and year in the rows section. We choose the sum of amount as the reporting function. Click the on-screen Next buttons to put the results on a new worksheet. The final step of the process is to export these results to Excel workbooks so that each result is in a separate workbook split by respective currency. To this end, utilize the Export to Excel functionality of SheetKraft. We need the aggregated loan data segregated currency-wise. To achieve this, we click on Partition the data and select Currency as the partition parameter. Next, we specify the folder where the results need to be exported. And we specify where to place the output file paths. Running the entire process by clicking on Run Book will help generate the overall process flow chart. The process to set up the various steps within the activity has been accomplished. Now, we need to specify the inputs and outputs to the activity. These can be done by clicking on the Define Activity button on the SheetKraft ribbon. In this case, we have 2 inputs. The first input is the loan maturity file. The location of this file is in the cell A2 of Sheet 1. The type of this input, a single cell reference, is specified in the type tag. The next input is the threshold rate. This is at cell N1 of Sheet 1. The output of this activity is multiple files of loan data partitioned currency-wise. Further, the activity definition step expects the user to provide a small description, specify the group as well as the activity classification. The user can now follow the on-screen steps to save and close the activity. Subsequently, the user can publish the activity via the Manage Activities window from the SheetKraft ribbon. Note that to publish an activity, the user must be logged into the server from the SheetKraft add-in and must have the necessary permissions to publish the activity. The activity has been successfully published onto the server. With this, creation of the activity is now complete. We now log out of the desktop add-in. Once we log into the web application, we will see the steps to run the activity. To end users, SheetKraft provides a web interface. Authorized user after login can run activities. Administrator can assign specific role or rights to users. User can be assigned rights to view and run activities for specific applications. The activity we have published is under Test Group in Report class. Click on Small Demo 1 Activity. Our activity has 2 inputs: data file and interest threshold value. Click on Loan Data File button to select the input data file. And enter the threshold value in the text field. Click on Start to run the activity. After successful completion, output files can be downloaded. SheetKraft also keeps a record of all previous runs. Click on Option button on Activity, then on View All Runs. On Activity History page we can view details of all previous runs and download input and output files. As demonstrated, any similar, repetitive spreadsheet process can be set up once and easily covered to a web activity using the SheetKraft framework. Thank you for watching this video. Visit www.sheetkraft.com for more details.